for Success. I am also a math faculty here. I have been at Mesa for about 2 years, but I actually started over at Red Mountain. I've been in the district for about 15 years. So I've been to several of the campuses, Chandler Gilbert, PC, South Mountain, Rio, Gateway. I'm the get around girl because I want to see if each campus is different, and it is, but each campus is unique. So far, I like it here at Mesa. So far, so good. So let me just tell you really briefly about the Connect for Success program. We started about 2011. This is a Dr. Pan program. Him and some executive staff noticed that there was a need that incoming students, whether they've been at a school for 15 years, 5 years, or 2 years ago, or a brand new student who just graduated from high school, needed a mentor. So this program pairs any of the faculty members here with an incoming student, and that faculty member serves as a support system for the student. So they are paired up for 1 semester. You guys meet for about 6 times, at least 2 face-to-face. The first time, I pay for your lunch, so I'll send the mentor a voucher and they'll take you to lunch for the first time. And then at the end of the year, there's a big celebration for you. Dr. Cam will come and give you a certificate of completion. And I also like to remind people, this looks good on your resume. So you can actually put the president of MCC, you're a part of this program, which people are. The other 4 times, you and your mentor figure that out, whether it's face-to-face, Skype, texting. I try to keep it flexible because I know everyone is always so busy. So we have several benefits to the program. We have a scholarship program, which there are handouts back there. I don't know if you guys were able to pick those up. And there are, with the scholarship program, it's up to $1,000, but you must be a part of the Connect for Success program. Additionally, there is a bike program that we have, which is a free bike that you can get for free. Needs some maintenance, maybe flat tire, need to get a new tire, maybe a seat. So some maintenance, but it's absolutely free as long as you're in the program. Okay, any questions about that so far? No? Perfect. All right, let's get to it. Math. Who does not like it, and be honest? We're all girlfriends here. Okay. Now, we like one person like it. Yay! I'm so excited. One person. But that's okay. They're going to get on board too. Because
like I hate English, so.
Okay, so I'm going to self-disclose. So I have, because my parents wanted to make sure that I wasn't a girl that did not know how to do math, I did math all the time. And I mean all the time. All the time. Even when we went on vacation, I had to bring my math books with me. And my dad would play the math game with me. And we would just do math all the way there, all the way back. So, not that I don't like English, it's just I've done math so much. I'm like, oh, it's just words. I don't need it. But as I began to move towards my educational journey, they're both important. You cannot have one without the other. They go hand in hand. Because as you do your math, there's a little thing called application problems, word problems, which most people don't like. Which amazes me because people who like English, I'm like, well, there you go. There's words. You can read. And they're like, no, it's not the same. So I totally get it. However, math has always just been my thing because it's always been there for me. And so I always tell people I was not that person who picked it up the first time or the second time. Maybe about the third time I'm, just gently coming into it. 4th or 5th time, okay, once it's locked and loaded, I'm good to go. So you can switch up that problem any kind of way, I'm gonna get it. So I always like to tell people, and I have math anxiety as well, and I always like to tell people because sometimes student thinks instructors, like they were built this way. I'm like, no. We, like you, we have to get here. We have to overcome some challenges, some hurdles. So I was the same way. And of course, I decided a field that is male dominated. Silly me. Because I was always under the auspices that girls can do math just as well as boys can. What do you mean we can't do math? So I became an engineer. And boys play different than girls. Way different. However, if they could do it, I could do it. That was my whole mode. So with that, I'm like, okay, let's do it. So in my mind, I told one of my group of people that I spoke to, it was either death or degree. That's how serious it was for me, because it was not an easy road. I'm alive, and I did finish. So I only say that because sometimes there are going to be moments where you want to concede. You want to throw up your hands. You're like, okay, I have nothing else to give to this math or to any of your subjects that you may have. And you're considering, pondering quitting. So let me just say this. In those moments that you want to concede and you want to give up, think about that moment that you decided, I'm going to school. I'm going to finish. No matter what it is, I'm going to get it done. So think about that so that you can continue to keep that fire in your belly and stay focused on the goal. Because there were many times that I thought about it, I was like, my life would be so much easier. But then I had to think, would my life be so much great? Would it be great if I had an engineering degree? And boy, hasn't been. Just simply wonderful. And I've been in places that most people don't even get invited to. And I've done work for the White House, CIA, NSA. So it's those kind of things that you want to make sure you have an opportunity that it doesn't pass you by. Now you're like, well, how is that up in with math? Do you know that you cannot graduate with an associate's or a bachelor's, even a master's, without some form of math? You have to face it. So I say to you, face it. Get your hardest classes done first. Get those over with. So then you can smooth sail to the finish line, what's the finish line? Graduation. Cap and gown. You're not going to think about all the hard stuff that you had to do when you're on that stage crossing it. You're like, I am done. I finished. So really think about that. You gotta get your math. Okay? So I have two people who don't care for math all that much. One person is like, I can work with it. Landon, right? Yes, I remember. Like math or don't like math?
It has its purpose.
So he's remaining in the middle and indifferent to it. So, have you ever felt like this? Oh my God, I'm going to pull my hair out because I have a test tomorrow. So let me ask you, are you feeling that way because you properly prepared? You studied your 2 to 3 hours per 1 credit class, or you thought you were going to have enough time, but you didn't. I had to take care of the kids, I had to drive them here, and I had a situation and the car broke down and the water heater went out, and I didn't have enough time. Or Did you just not make enough time? Or all of the above?
All of
All
of the, because I studied, I did, but then things come up and I didn't probably study enough.
Okay. What about you ladies and gentlemen?
I think we established that I studied too much,
Yes.
and so I kind of burn out, and
Mhm.
it just kind of eludes me. But I am finding things that you have told us that have been helping.
Okay, perfect. What about you?
I study quite a bit and I do a lot of extra work and I go to the early labs and I'll stay after and ask some questions and I think I have it down. And then, it's just that nervous feeling
Mhm.
and then he puts the test down in front of me and then I make like stupid errors and then I look at it, I was like, what was I
Why
doing?
did I leave that?
I knew that.
Yeah.
Kind of that panic sets in. Of,
Yeah.
Am I gonna? Plus, it's like, am I gonna have enough time?
Mhm.
I like to take my time
Okay.
and double check, and then it
Mhm.
seems like 50 minutes is not enough.
Mm.
So.
Okay. What about you, Landon?
I tend to study quite a bit to, maybe not the formula,
Mhm.
but somehow or another I think I got it on the homework. I'm like rock, so to speak.
Mhm.
At least 90 to 95% I'm getting it all right. And then when it comes to test time, somehow or another, what was equals mc squared turns into orange plus banana equals something else. And I'm
A
like,
fruit salad.
yeah, this was nowhere in the literature, this was nowhere anywhere else.
Okay. Well, can I tell you what happened to me when I used to be out there? My brain looked like this. You see anything there? I would completely go white. And I like you, I studied. Sometimes I studied enough. Sometimes I overstudied. And sometimes there wasn't enough to study. Enough time to study, I should say. Because through college, I was working 2 or 3 jobs. I went to a private school. But I knew what I was getting into. So I don't blame anybody. I knew I take full responsibility. It was all me. But sometimes my mind would go just like this, just like the whiteboard. So what I had to figure out was, why am I going to completely blank when I know, or when I think I know what it is? Let me give you an example. Do you know your address? Why do you know your address?
Memorized.
It's memorized. Have you driven to your address before in your car, or family members, or your boyfriend or your girlfriend's car that have taken you? Or you've departed from your house and you've gone to your destination, correct? And you've done this over and over and over again, so you know where you live, right? But if I asked you, okay, so come to my house, like right now, and here's the address and you have no GPS. Are you going to give me some directions? Are you in a vicinity, a city? So I had to realize and be honest with myself. Sure, I studied, but did I study correctly? Do I have good study habits? So that factored in that technique that I told you about. As far as when I was studying too much, it was too much. So I had to break it up into smaller pieces and change subjects. So in my mind, I can do math and switch to English and switch back to math and switch to English. No problem. Well, that's not saying that I had to do my thermodynamics or my EMAG that I had to do in there as well. But I didn't study and review enough. So I did my homework. I did my homework after he or she covered it in class, and I tried to finish it, so I got it done. And typically there's 3 to 4 weeks before you get a test, right? You guys been in math classes. So now I have a test, but I haven't looked at this topic since 3 weeks ago. So I had to figure out, okay, here's the topic that I looked at week 1. How am I going to review? This is how I figured it out. Nobody told me, I promise you, I had to figure some of this stuff out by myself. I was a paper person, I'm a tangible person. So after I would do my homework, I would set out maybe 5 sheets of paper. I would randomly select 5 problems. I would do 2 stacks, 1 stack, 2 stacks. And I would set that stack, if I did my homework, say I did the first week, second week, same day, I need to do those 5 problems to see if I can remember how to do them successfully. Week 3, I'm going to do those same problems again, not looking at my homework or any of that, making sure that I was able to complete all of those problems. So week 3 comes, hey, this looks familiar. Hey, I remember the first time. Boom, I got that done. Boom, I got the second one done. Got the third one done. It's, 4 and 5, I'm still struggling with it a little bit. But by week 4, when we get ready to take the test, guess what's still in my brain? My work that we did from week 1. So we're taking work all collectively, the topics that we've completed, and you're getting a test, and you know what I'm talking about, and you take your test. Here's where I stopped getting this whiteboard. Hey, I've seen this problem before. I've done this problem like 3 or 4 times. I know how to do this problem. I do it 30 seconds, 60 seconds. That's when you know that you know that you know how to do these problems. Because your doubt doesn't kick in to tell you that you don't. Do you have self-talk? I don't know how to do this. I'm gonna run out of time. There's not. Oh my God, there's a brace in here. What does the brace mean? Oh my God, is that the same as a bracket or parentheses? Oh my God. You put yourself into freak out mode. So before freak out mode can happen, you're already done with the problem and on to the next one. To me, that's part of your confidence. So if you're confident in your problem, no matter what that problem looks like, if you've seen it enough, you've seen it switched up, you've seen a problem given to you when you're doing your homework. It may say, 1, 2, 3, and you have like 3 columns and say 5 rows. So the first 3 problems are usually easy, right? I'm like, sweet, this is easy. And then you get to that second row, you're like, wait a minute. They didn't put an X in here like it was in this one. Then you get to the next one. Why is this brace here? And why is this dividing this? So do you see they're increasing. So if you've practiced enough of these problems, even if you have a basic foundation of what the topic is or what the subject matter is, you know that you know. So as soon as you get that problem, you're not going to be intimidated by it. You're not going to go white, or you're not going to twist your hair. Leg is constantly going. So that's when you start to get those little ticks, and then you talk. I'm not good enough. Why am I in this class? I hate math. I hate math. I hate math. You're laughing. Are you familiar with any of that? Yeah. I can only speak to this why? Because it's happened to me. I've done it. So that's why I tell people, I'm like, oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. One of my faculty members has a PhD, and I was like, oh, the math anxiety. She's like, I don't have math anxiety. And you know what ran through my mind? How are you going to relate to those students who have it? How are you going to be able to explain to them what that feels like, besides just reading it on the internet? So what I'm telling you is completely real. And I like doing this is because when people say I can't, or I'm a girl, I'm not good enough to do math, and here I am, and I'm in a minority. That's me. So when I was coming up, they would call me the triple threat. Because I just would not let anyone tell me that I cannot. So, I bestow upon you today the power, the confidence to do not only just math, because there's other subjects, that you can do whatever subject you want to do. Okay? And I think that's half of it because people have never been given permission. And so I give you permission. Wear your crown proudly. Math anxiety equals test anxiety equals fear numbers plus fear of the unknown. When you see a problem for the very first time, you don't know what it is, does that give you a little palpitation? Like, oh my God, I'm gonna have to do that problem. And by myself, at home, at 2 o'clock in the morning. No one to call. I get it. Or you get a huge number, and I'm notorious, my students will tell you, I get them huge numbers. You know why? Because when you get ready to take the test, they're like, oh, you've done this 1,000 times at the whiteboard. We go to the whiteboard. We talk, we show, and then we work. Because I think if you get enough of that when you do get home, like you guys have mentioned, and you take in proper notes, then it won't be so bad. And if I could give you numbers big enough to freak you out once or twice, they won't freak you out anymore. So I try to overcome that quickly. Does that make sense? Okay, so I have a handout for you. Does everyone have a pen? Yes. Awesome. Just a small little handout.
What number do you teach?
I can teach 082 up to Big Hawk. I'm not teaching this semester because I am running this program. Unfortunately, I can't do both. But I still teach math. I also teach GED. So I teach to them. And I teach them like they're in college. And it freaks them out a little bit. However, I know that I'm doing right because when they come here, they're testing directly into math 120 and 150. GED to 150. That's a huge leap. So I know that I'm doing something right, and that lets me know. Okay, so I gave you a little handout. So I got 10 little questions. I'll give you a few minutes to answer that and total up. See if we can get away from the math. Back up the math again. And let's discuss your numbers. Numbers do we have for this? A 42, okay. 38.
I don't know what I scored when I added it right, the 18.
Wow, possibly. Yeah, major. Landon, what did you have?
37.
37.
Yeah, I do.
What'd you say?
She says I do like math.
You know what, I always tell people, they think that, all math teachers, you gotta love math, and it's not everybody's forte. I've learned that. And everybody has their strengths and weaknesses, However, I think if you can be friends with math, think about it like a relationship. You have your girlfriend and it's good, and then sometimes you're like, shoot, it's on my nerves. We need to take a break. And you take a break. But you never leave her. You eventually come back to it, right? And that's why I was saying, associates, your bachelors, your masters, you're going to go away, you're going to come back. You're going to go away, you're going to come back. So if you think about it like a relationship, then you want to typically hold on to good relationships, right? Okay. So, when I did this the first time, I just did it because, I'm like, okay, let me take it and see, where I scored. So the first time I scored, it was like, perhaps. I'm like, still? Math anxiety? Can I teach math? But that was probably because I had a whole bunch of classes. So, even still, I think if I have more techniques so that I won't let the math anxiety overwhelm me, that would allow me to not do successful on tests. And that's why I think techniques are usually really, really good. If you want more information, I gave a more detailed website here. Have you ever heard of Mathopedia? So if you go to Mathopedia, this is extremely long. Let me just, I think I brought it up for you. The last time I showed people, they're like, I'm not looking at that. I'm like, okay, it's okay. It's all right. So this is what it looks like, and so they give you some questions. And it's just different subtopics: physical and emotional factors, assessment factors, social factors, and then you just go on. And the reason I say it's long is because about 10 to 15 questions, once people start doing surveys, they want to get it done. They don't really read the question. You know what I mean? They just want to get it done and move on to the next thing. So you can always go to Mathopedia and see how you fare with math anxiety. Okay. What is math anxiety? Math anxiety is an extreme emotional and or physical reaction to a negative attitude towards math. Have you ever said the statement, I hate math? Yes. What about, I don't like math? Yes. I, wish math would just go away and my life would be easy. I've heard that from students. I'm like, it's not going to go away. And I personally, just because I teach math, I don't want it to go away. You know why? Every 2 weeks I get some math. What is that? A paycheck. So I don't want it to go away. Your paycheck has numbers in it, doesn't it? Yeah. So I think you would want to hold on to that just a little bit more. Math anxiety is a feeling of tension, apprehension, or even dread. Do you dread doing your homework, or you push it off to the last minute to get it done? Why? Can't they just push? Are you hoping? Have you ever hoped that something would happen and the teacher would cancel the test and give it to you next week? I've heard that before. We were wishing that we could move the test. No, we can't move the test. Even dread to interfere with ordinary manipulation of numbers and solving mathematical problems is a state of panic, helplessness. People get paralyzed, I should say, and there's something called math phobia. Have you ever heard of that? Where it's so bad, I've actually had someone call me from the hospital, or got a nurse, call me from the hospital. She had a final exam. She put herself in such a state, she ended up going to the hospital. So it gets really bad for some people, and I understand that. So I think as you begin to continue to work with it and just accept the fact that it is what it is, you are what you are, you just have to figure out a way or a technique to make it all work together. Okay? All right. Types of math anxiety. Math test anxiety involves anticipation, completion, and feedback on. Have you gotten your test sometimes? You took your test. You're thinking, as soon as you get out, you're like, I don't know if I did well on that. Wait, I think I did. No, I didn't. Oh my gosh, I have to wait. It's on a Thursday. Now you gotta wait till Tuesday to get your test. And if your instructor uses Canvas, are you checking Canvas all the time? It's not there. It's not there. Or if you have an instructor who uses paper and you're like, oh my God, Tuesday. And then it's Monday night. And then you start to think, it's gonna be so bad. Do you see how you're constantly thinking about this all the time? You're working yourself up and you haven't even gotten your grade. So Tuesday comes and you come to class and you can almost feel like the tension. Like I feel the tension as soon as I walk in, and if I have papers in my hand, I can tell people are trying to see through. Like if they had invisible, the ability to see through stuff, they would be trying to say, what is that? What is that? Is that my score? Is that me? Oh, that's a D. I hope that's not me. So you get your test back, and then there's a couple of scenarios. What are they? Really, really good. Really, she said really, really bad, or somewhere in between. Now, do I have any perfectionists? Yes. So, if you got a 98, you should see that smile on her. You should see her face right now. You should see it. And you got a 98, and people are like, oh my God, you did amazing. Look at your test. And then she will look and say, should have been 100. Would you say that? So it's always a tough when I have perfectionists, and I try to get them to see whether you have 2 more points or 2 less points, it's still an A. But they don't seem to be too happy with that. Or you have us people who've gotten a B. I'm like, okay, well, let me look through and see what silly mistakes I made. Oh my God. Oh, can you believe it? I added when I should have multiplied. I get that so much. My most famous one is 2 times 3 is 5. It's 5. Oh, you're adding. You should be multiplying. But they're like, okay, I did better than, have you ever said, I did better than what I thought I did? Do you take that? Do you at least give yourself an attaboy? It's not too bad, I could have did worse. You know when you get that, it could have been worse, is when somebody next to you shows you their paper. You're like, oh, I didn't get that. Okay, I did okay. Please take those small successes to heart. So you have to, give yourself a little bit of praise. Because if you don't, then you keep going down this road. I'm not good enough. I'm never going to finish. I'm going to have a low GPA. I can't, apply for scholarships. And it just perpetuates into this big balloon. It's almost like, when you blow a balloon, this lid though, and you blow and it's little, and then it's huge. How do you deflate the balloon? Burst. Wow. And let the air out. So start to think a little more positive. So numerical and anxiety, I mean, not the word, everyday situation require work, numbers, and performance. Not too many people have a problem with that one per se. It's usually the math test anxiety and the abstract anxiety, dealing with variables. As soon as people say algebra, like, why do they put numbers, letters, numbers together in algebra? Why? And I always tell people, I'm like, but you already know both. You remember? A, B, C, D, E, F, G. You know your alphabet, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You know your numbers. So now they've just combined them together. So you're ultimately looking for the value of whatever the 1 through 26 letters that we have in our alphabet, and you're looking for a number. So you have everything you need. You have the 4 foundations: multiplication, subtraction, addition. You know your alphabet. Now it's just building this house as you proceed with your educational journey. Okay. Do you remember this? When I was in the 3rd grade? Yeah! I'm trying really hard. I'm gonna get it. Math is hard. Then you get to the 10th grade. Algebra. With some exponents. And then math is hard. I wish I was in the 3rd grade again. You ever felt like that? My point, no matter what the level is, you're going to continue to try to say it's hard. So face whatever grade level or topic or level you are, and just continue to move on with it. What are some of the symptoms? Have you ever felt nauseated? I know I have. Yeah. What about shortness of breath? Kind of, sort of, maybe. Sweating. Yeah, got some sweating. Heart palpitations. I'm going to have a heart attack right now. Maybe if I had a heart attack right now, I don't have to take a test. Increase in blood pressure. What about memory loss? My whole whiteboard scenario. I can't remember. Loss of self-confidence. Do you think you need confidence to do anything? Yes. Do you think you need confidence to do math? I got one yes. If you never thought that you could do math, would you have confidence? No. So they work together for you. Negative self-talk. I'm not good enough. It's not going to work. Math avoidance. Well, I'll just wait to the last minute. It won't take me that long to do it. And then you get stuck on 2 or 3 problems for like 3 hours. And now you're frustrated. Unfortunately, that's how that works. And isolation, thinking you're the only one who feels this way. And that's another reason why I like to do these workshops, because you are not the only one that feels this way. My differential equations teacher always would tell me that you should never do math alone. We always partnered up. There was a lot of study sessions going on. So that's one thing that you should consider. Maybe seek out someone in the class that that you think that you would like to work with. And maybe you guys can work together on some of your problems. Okay? So this is just a little quick chart that I put together, and I am familiar with the very, actually, this is where it was at sometimes when I first started out. I was unsure how, what am I doing? Am I going to be able to finish this? So confused. I get that all the time. I'm so confused. And then you think, I'm not good enough, I'm inadequate. Then it's just hopeless for me. And then you drop out. So, I don't know which one, if any, that you can associate with, but this this is just a bit of a chart that kind of gives you an idea because there are stages for everything. Okay? So,
Welcome to your first video in the Math Study Skills series, created by Jessica Bernards of Portland Community College and Mark DeSmet of Cabrillo College. In these videos, we will talk about different study skills topics specifically related to math. First, let's start with the myths. I'm just not a math person. We hear this all the time. Actually, anyone can do math, and there's no such thing as being just a math person. Math takes time and effort. If you put the time and work in, you can succeed in math. If I don't know how to do something right away, I never will. This statement isn't true either. Again, math takes time and effort. If you don't know how to do a problem, try something out. This is what mathematicians do. Math takes time. You won't know what to do right away for every problem. It's all about being persistent. Another myth students think is that math is all about memorizing a bunch of formulas and rules. Yes, there are a lot of formulas and rules in math, but it isn't all about memorizing them. If you actually understand these rules and formulas, you won't have to memorize a thing. As you work through problems, ask yourself if you actually understand why you're doing what you're doing instead of just applying a set of memorized steps that you'll forget in a month. I'll never use this. True, you probably won't have to compute a logarithm in your future career, but you'll have to be able to recognize patterns and use logic to solve problems. This is what math is all about. Now let's talk about learning math. Unlike other subjects, math builds on what you've previously learned. Think about math as building a house. You can't just start with the roof. You have to have a strong foundation first before you can put up any walls, doors, siding, etc. How prepared you are for your current math class is affected by this foundation, which includes several factors. If you received a C in the previous math course, missed several classes, or have had one semester go by since your last math class, you probably will have some prerequisite gaps that will need to be filled in before you can succeed in your current one. Luckily, there are a ton of resources at your college that are available to help you with this. We will be talking about these resources in the next study skills video. One last thing to note about preparation is that your math placement test score plays a role in how prepared you are. If you are on the low end of the cutoff scores for a class, think about taking the previous class first. That way you can get a strong foundation. Math is not a spectator sport. Like athletes and musicians do, you have to practice math in order to be successful come game time, aka when you go to take your exam. Just because you watch NFL football every Sunday, know all of the plays, moves, and rules, doesn't mean you'll be able to show up and play a game well. Math is the same way. You can't just watch the teacher do math and expect to be able to fully understand it to perform well on the exam. You have to practice it yourself on your own. Some good habits to start now is to do math at least every other day. This includes doing homework, reviewing notes, going through exam reviews, and reading a book. Make it part of your regular schedule, just like a job, and actually stick to that schedule. The biggest mistake students make is waiting until last minute to do their homework and try to get it all done in one night. This won't work or help you actually retain any of the material. Your brain can only process so much at once. Speaking of homework, a good idea to do it is in the same environment you'll have to for exams. Whenever you're studying, keep your phone away, Facebook off, and the solutions manual closed. We'll talk more about this in the homework video. One other thing to note about math. Learning it is similar to learning a foreign language. You need to learn to speak math as a language so that you know how to interpret what the different symbols and formulas mean. One way to help with this is to create note cards with new formulas, definitions, and symbols learned in each class. Keep these on you and do a quick review of them whenever you have a chance. Many students go into their first college math class thinking it will be the same as it was in high school. However, it isn't. Some important things for you to know. College courses have less class time than in high school and cover twice as much material. This means college courses are much more fast-paced, and it's expected that you will do the work outside of the class. The responsibility for the learning is on you. Expect to spend 2 to 3 hours outside of class for every hour you're in class. In many classes, attendance is optional, but you should always go to class. Missing class means you'll miss important topics, and you are responsible for learning these on your own. A C is considered passing, a D is not. Therefore, you must have at least a C to move on to the next class. Don't expect your math teacher to let you do extra credit to get a higher grade, or to retake exams. Some general tips for your success. Your attitude is key. Keep a positive attitude throughout your math class. If you think you can't do it, you won't. But if you put in the hard work and think positive thoughts, you will be able to persevere. The first exam in every math class is usually the easiest since it covers prerequisite material. Don't think you won't need to study as much because of this. Study, study, study so you can ace that first exam and set yourself up for success. Come to class on time so that you don't miss important information at the beginning of class and actually be prepared for your class. Have your math notebook, book, pencils, highlighters, and calculator all ready to go. Ask questions when you have them and get help right away. The last thing you want to do in a math class is fall behind. And most importantly, know that you can do this. Believe in yourself.
What do you guys think about that? Okay. Okay. Math men. Men are better in math than women. I got one person that no. There's the best way to do math, probably, like the best way. There's only one way to do that. No. Several ways. Math is done by working intensely until your problem is solved. Then you give yourself a headache. Okay. How many people have a math mind? No. Okay.
Some people are definitely more geared towards it.
I think so, but I've worked with a lot of engineers. And that's sometimes very interesting by the work that they do. And if you're so, I should say, talented, but your work is not showing that, to me there's something amiss somewhere. So, but I agree. There's just like some people who can whip out, a 5-paragraph paper in like an hour, and they're done. Whereas there's other people who takes them a couple of days. And that's why I was saying earlier, everybody's talented in some area. So, essentially we are all valuable. Overcoming math anxiety. She spoke about it. At minimum, 1 hour. And some of the, again, like I said earlier, I worked 2 jobs and I went to college. I had to figure it out. So there was maybe one semester where I got up an hour early and tried to do work, in addition to my regular 2 to 4 hours. There was another semester I stayed up later. So I had to you have to do it to figure out which one works for you. You just can't guess it. Okay. Now, she mentioned for every 1 credit hour, you should study how many hours? 2 to 3. And the reason I say 2 to 4 is because if you are one of those people who takes 3, 4, 5 times to get it, you're going to spend more time. It's okay. You are not like the next person sitting next to you. So what? She learns it faster than you. That does not mean that you are inadequate. That does not mean if it takes her 4 times as long. At the end of the day, correction, at the end of the semester, it's the final grade. Is that not right? So you're working, you're putting your time in, you're doing what you need to do So what if at the end of the semester, the person that you thought was the fastest got a B and you got an A? That would be okay. So don't compare or be jealous for the person that's sitting next to you, right or left, because everyone is different. Get organized. Are you organized? Do you have a binder that you keep all your information in? Or do you have separate folders, one slated for biology, one for physics, one for math? Are you organized? Or do you get your papers and you just shove them in your bag and I'll do it later? And later never comes. And then when you're looking for something, I call it the paper shuffle. Have you ever seen that? I know it's here somewhere. I know I did it. We talked about it. And you're just shuffling papers, looking for whatever. Guess what you're doing? Guess what you're losing? Now, you may not think it's a lot, but 5 minutes, you could have been doing 5 minutes more of math. Or whatever it is. Okay? So, keep good notes. Are you familiar with Cornell Notes? If not, please make sure you take a look online and see what that looks like.
Do they have a way online to do it for math in particular?
Not particularly, but usually, and this is just something that I do, you can find some techniques online. But usually what I always tell students, how I did my papers. And I switched. So one semester I had like a 3-ring binder. I'm like, let me see how this works, if I like it. Or I may have separate folders, see if I like that. I found that I liked them both. So I would get the folders that had the 3-ring punches in them, and I kept it in my binder. Because then I can have everything in one central location. But that was just my style. But again, I hope you are hearing that I'm saying you have to try it to figure out which one works best for you. I would always date my paper. I would always put whatever the topic is that we were doing, as well as the instructor. Yes, it's going in my folder, but what if something happens? I drop it, the wind blows it all over the place. I don't know. It's just me being organized. Also, when I'm doing my math, I always number my papers. So 1, 2, especially if you get a study partner, I always label them. So if I'm working on page, 2, and they need to see page 2, okay, I'm working on page 2, you have to wait. However, if you are, splitting your papers up, then you can share your papers and continue to go on. I just don't like to get my papers mixed up. Some people will put whatever the topic is at the bottom of the paper. To me, it doesn't matter. However you want to put it, so that you can keep track of it. It's almost like a footnote, right? When you're doing your essay. Different techniques. It's completely up to you. Whichever one works best for you. Okay. Utilize all resources. Don't be afraid to talk to your instructor. So, I had this conversation earlier this week. It's okay that if your instructor, if you have a problem with something, always approach an instructor tactfully, professionally, and clearly state what the issue is. So I give my students permission. If there's something there's an issue, come and talk to me. It's okay. Even with me saying it's okay, people still struggle to come and talk. And I think just because it's an authority figure type of, situation, but still, I'm still human. I still make mistakes. You make mistakes. So I think together, collectively, if there is an issue, we can solve it. And I want to resolve a problem now. I don't want it to fester. I don't want you to keep going and you finally tell me 4 weeks ago, you hurt my feelings. I'm like, okay, well, why'd you wait so long? Because I want to apologize. Just let me do it now, not 4 weeks later. Now you drop my class. Now it's because we're so easily offended. Let's just talk about it. It's okay. Okay. Do you know where the tutoring center is? Don't worry, I'm going to have that information for you. Okay. Is there a tutoring center for writing? Is there one for math? Is there one for other topics? Just depends on the topic. Okay. All right. Attend class. Follow behind screens, math anxiety. Resist negative talk, which I've talked about before. Give yourself affirmations. Well, I have some for you. I did the work for you. Take one and pass it, please. You're welcome. I will have a never quit attitude. I will make math success a priority. I will always make an exceptional effort. So, maybe you agree with some, maybe you don't. Hopefully you can find at least 2 or 3 that you can say to yourself to get you over the hump during those times you're having some difficulties. Start preparing early. Just like I said, we went over something week 1. I'm always trying to make sure I review from the week before, and then I know 3 to 4 weeks I'm going to have some type of test or quiz or exam, whether it's online or paper. Okay? Cramming is not a solution. I tried it. I admit it, and I'm seeing this on film. Did not work. It didn't work. It didn't work for me. But I'm not a perfectionist, so to speak, but I don't like bad grades at all. So I really have to get that under control. Time management. Each one of you have 168 hours in a week, or 86,400 seconds. You don't get extra and I get less. It's the same for everyone. Everybody's busy is important, but different. Okay? All right. Take care of yourself. Eat. Sleep. Now, I know that's very difficult. I was a college student. I know what that is. On average in college, I slept probably about 4 or 5 hours. So don't make the mistake I made. Question, and I'm going to come back. Do you put gas in your car? What's the purpose of gas? Right, to keep the car going. What do you think food is to our body? To keep it going. Have you ever had, besides the Snickers and the Dr. Pepper, I was the Snickers and Coke Red. That was my thing. But when I came off of that sugar high, I'm like, what? I couldn't remember. What did I just do? Wait, what did I just read? Now I'm reading it like 4 or 5 times because I'm coming off the sugar high. You definitely need to make sure you are fueling the body. And meditation, deep breathing. We had a workshop last week, and our very own me was telling us how to de-stress. So, find out some techniques that will help. And I know it may feel a little funny. Did you feel a little funny when you did it the first time? And you feel like, wait, nobody's around. Okay, I can do it by myself. But then after a while, you don't even care. You know, you need to find something that just brings that stress level down. So, look into that. Or, as soon as we get our YouTube channel up, you can watch it on our YouTube channel. That was a little plug. Do the easiest problems first. This will build what? Your confidence. I always tell people, do the easy ones first. When you get your tests, you're like, oh my God, the first one, I don't know how to do it. This is what I tell them. You get your test, you put your name on it. I want you to go through that test. Star the ones that are familiar to you. You look like, okay, I can do that in less than 2 minutes. Here's my thing, my rule. If you can't do that problem in 2 minutes, move to the next one. Do not sit on that problem 10 minutes. You're going to run out of time. 2 minutes, move on. And after a while, you will get that feel of 2 minutes. Okay, I can't do it. Let me go to another one. Let me go to. Then you get to the end, and then you come back. Maybe you've done 5 problems. You get back to that same problem. Now I know how to do it. But if you sit on it too long, you're going to be discouraged. You want confidence when you're doing your problems. All right.
Math and test anxiety. There are many causes for math and test anxiety. These include a bad experience in your past with math. Most students can pinpoint the first time they became anxious about mathematics to a specific situation.
3rd grade.
Usually, it was an experience in elementary, middle, or high school. Not enough study time. If you aren't as prepared as you should be for an exam, you will be anxious for it. This is why it's so important you manage your time wisely and study, study, study. Not feeling well prepared. If you've put in the time and studied correctly, go into the exam feeling confident, knowing that you've done the best you could do. Confidence is key. Thinking test scores will measure your intelligence or self-worth. This is not true. You're not stupid or worthless if you fail an exam. It just means you need to change up some of the habits you're doing and get some help from the instructor or a tutor. Reflect on what you need to do differently and take the necessary steps you need to help you succeed. Fear of the clock. Don't let the clock give you anxiety. You do need to manage your time while taking your exam, but don't let the time manage you. There are several common symptoms of math and test anxiety. They include panic, paranoia, nervousness, lack of confidence, your mind going blank, and hopelessness. Luckily, there are some things you can do to overcome math and test anxiety. The best way is to be prepared. Do all of your homework regularly, getting help on problems that you don't understand. Take good notes and make sure you actually review them on a regular basis, not just the night before the exam. Study. Don't just expect to show up to an exam and ace it. You actually need to review and practice the material. Follow the study tips from the How to Study for an Exam video. Form a study group. Working with others will help you gain confidence and make studying more fun. Create a study plan. For tips on how to create your study plan, refer back to the How to Study for an Exam video. And lastly, to be prepared, create a cheat sheet. As you're studying for your exam, have 1 page of paper that you write down things you want to make sure you remember for the exam. For example, if you often forget that when dividing fractions you multiply by the reciprocal, this should go on your cheat sheet. Any important formulas, processes, and definitions should go on there as well. Make sure it's no longer than 1 page though. Review this cheat sheet often the day before and the day of the exam. It should be the last thing you look at before getting your test. However, know that most likely you won't be able to use it while taking the test. A couple of things you can do before an exam to help you overcome math and test anxiety. In your study plan, start studying days before the exam. Cramming everything in one night will not work. The only thing you should be doing the night before, day of the test, is reviewing your cheat sheet. Don't cram the night before. Studies show this will not help you do well in the exam. It isn't enough time to learn all of the material, and you'll be in panic mode by that time. This helps bring up anxiety. Get a good night's sleep and eat a good breakfast. This will help make sure your brain is alert and you can stay focused on the exam. Get to class early. The last thing you want is stress that you're running late for an exam. Get there about 15 minutes early and review your cheat sheet as you wait.
Or somebody sitting in your seat.
During the exam, there are several steps you can take. When you first get your exam, flip it over and write down any information in your head that you want to remember for the exam. Usually, this is stuff on your cheat sheet. Next, write your name and then scan the exam. Answer the easiest questions first and save the harder ones for last. Read all directions carefully. You don't want to get marked down on a problem because you didn't follow all of the directions. If you go blank, skip the question and go on, but don't forget to go back to it. Put a mark by it to remind yourself you still need to complete that problem. Don't panic when students start handing in papers. There is no prize for being the first person done with an exam. In fact, usually the first people don't get the highest grades.
Absolutely. Now I see some of you writing that, so I just wanted to pause it for a second so you can, if you wanted to write that down. And that's typically correct. Usually the person, when you turn in your test in my class, I label them 1 to the order that they came to me. And so when I grade them, the first person, I'm looking at your score, and you get like a 49. I'm like, why? You're the first person to turn it in. Because you just want to hurry up and get out of there. Then I look at the person who's the last person to turn it in, and they get like an 80 or a 90. There's a difference. You see that? No prize. No prize. Okay. All right.
Take your time and make sure you check all of your answers. It's okay to be the last person to hand in your test.
See, it's okay.
If you start to panic, use relaxation techniques. Some relaxation techniques include deep breathing. Take 5 to 10 deep breaths, focusing on filling up your lungs as you inhale and slowly releasing the air out as you exhale. This helps get oxygen to your brain and for you to focus on something other than the exam. Other techniques include closing your eyes and thinking of a happy, relaxing place for a few minutes. This will help you suppress your adrenaline and calm your nerves. Stretch. This will help keep your blood flowing. Just make sure you don't distract others around you as you do it. Math and test anxiety. You can overcome this. You can do it.
You can do it. They're like, yeah, it's a little bit too much energy for us right now. Here are your math aways. Math can be a little challenging, but you can have victory over it. Yes, you can do it. When presented with a math topic and you don't understand it for the first time, don't beat yourself up. That's a big one, I noticed. Your instructor shows you how to do a problem, then you try to do it and you get it wrong, and then you're upset about it. It's okay. They just showed you how to do it. You need some practice. So go home, practice, see if you can get through the problem. This again will help build confidence as you approach your problems. Okay? You are unique. Everyone learns differently. Just remember that. Again, it doesn't matter what the person to the right or left of you are doing. Really just focus on what you need to get done. Okay? When negative thoughts enter your mind, replace them with a positive affirmation. Now you have something. If you have problems or concerns with math, talk to your instructors immediately and go to a tutoring center. Remember, you're not the only person with math anxiety. Proverb, Chinese. Tell me mathematics and I will forget it. Show me mathematics and I will remember it. Involve me and I will understand it. So again, when I teach, typically we go over the lesson, I give you a plethora of example problems, and then we go to the board. You get a partner, you're partnered up, you're at the board, and we're doing work. Now, it's really funny when I tell people that when they first come into class, you can see I'm like, please don't pass out. You know, they're like, oh my God, I gotta go to the board. No, you're going to the board with someone, you're not by yourself. This morning, as I was teaching my GED math class, I'm helping one person. Apparently I was taking too long. They started doing another problem. They didn't need me. They usually go on autopilot. And then they just started working their problems. And they started helping each other. And to me, because that's how I was taught, it's easy. If a peer-to-peer's helping you do the problem, there's less intimidation, it seems, compared to if an instructor is doing it. So, working together, trying to solve your problems, works really well. We do have a counseling department. I don't know if you know about this. It's over in 36N. They are available. Why am I bringing this up? Because people who have math anxiety, math phobia, it gets to the point where it affects not only their classes, one class could be math, it could affect the rest of their classes, it could affect the semester, and then it rolls over into your personal life. So there is resources available here, right here on campus for you, as well as Red Mountain too, okay? I don't like to forget about Red Mountain because we do have another campus up there. So here are the Math Center for both locations. So if you didn't know, here they are. Hopefully nothing has changed, so then you know. And did you need something on there?
No.
Okay. One last video for you.
That's me. Over 20 years ago, when I was 10 years old. I had a 4th grade teacher I admired more than I could even comprehend. I wrote mountains of silly books that sat in my closet, until it was time to start preparing for it. The test. The standardized test. The thing that would define us. Nothing mattered but this test. We were told how important it was. We were offered rewards for doing well, and prepared for it like it was some sort of triathlon. And so, bubble after bubble, question after question, passage after passage, I poured myself into that test, barely understanding what I was reading or why. And when the scores came back, I saw the disappointment on my teacher's face, the sadness in my parents' eyes. 40%. I was a 40. While my friends were 80s or 90s or 95s, I was a 40. So I wrote about that test. Angry, upset, frustrating things we couldn't say in school because we had to stay positive. I started practicing my reading comprehension. I turned the page on my reading problems and started reading fun books, asking for extra help from my teachers. But I never forgot the fact that I was a 40. Because I had let that test, that giant monster of questions and bubbles and passages and facts, define me. But now, 23 years later, I have 2 college degrees. I've written and published 5 books. I've been teaching kids for over 10 years. I teach them how to excel at reading comprehension, and I dare you to find a time when I'm alone without a book in my hand to read. I devour books. I am not a 40. I am 1,000 things, but not a 40. Because at some point, after that annoying little test, I picked myself up, and I realized that test did not define me. That test was not the giant monster everyone painted it to be. It was a puzzle. A challenge, just some words and fill-in bubbles, a minor setback. But it was not a definition of who I was or who I ever will be. Listen to me, 3rd graders, 4th graders, students of all ages, elementary, middle, or high. This test does not define you. Don't let them scare you. Don't think for a minute that this is about how well you do compared to other kids in your class or on your street. Don't think for a minute that this test is about you at all, because it's not. It's about seeing how your teachers are teaching, and how they can improve. It's about seeing how your school leaders are leading and how they can do better. This test doesn't tell you how bright you are, or how creative, amazing, inspiring, or talented you are, or ever will be. This test does not define you. And if you think it does, you're not alone. There are thousands of kids feeling exactly what you feel right now about this test, worrying about a little old test instead of enjoying being a kid. This test does not define you, no matter how hard you think it does, no matter what grown-ups say. There is no permanent record. There is no employer who will ask about your 3rd grade standardized test scores, or the results of your middle school exams, or your 10th grade end of course score report. This test does not define you, and it never will. This test is about helping teachers improve. And you know what? Your teacher is amazing. I mean it. Your teacher is a nurse, a social worker, a therapist, an artist, an ally, a coach, a police officer, an instructor, and a miracle worker. No matter what score you or your classmates get, your teacher will continue to be amazing. Why? Because your test scores don't define her. Your test scores don't define him. Your test scores don't define anybody. And given the chance to define yourself on your own with no adults nearby, pen and paper in hand, just you, yourself, and nobody but yourself, given the chance to define yourself, you would never, will never say 3 or pass or 40 or any other meaningless score, phrase, or level that some test assigns you. Given the chance to define yourself, you wouldn't even bring up the word test, because this test does not define you. You define you. So go now. Go out there. Go out there and write what you really think about this test. Write about your fears, your emotions, your new realization that this test does not define you. Get it all out. Scream about it. Make a poem about it. Turn it into a video and put it on YouTube. Then write about what really matters in life. Write about what matters to you, what you're grateful for, what you pour your heart into. Go. Go now. Go out there and read what you love to read. Go out there and ask a million questions about the things that fascinate you. Don't limit yourself to an A, B, C, or D choice. You are not a 3, a pass, a 90, or a 40. You are E, none of the above. Go. Go now. Go laugh at this test, this little challenge, this puzzle, as just one more thing in life that you will pour your heart into, but will never define you, no matter how high you fly or how hard you fall. Go now. Go. Define yourself.
Questions? No questions? You guys have smartphones?